It's Powerback time on the Gutsy Podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. Have you ever made a decision and went through with something that you really thought was the right next step, and then it backfired? Something didn't go as planned. The person turned out to be something totally different than what you expected. You didn't like the career that you chose. Maybe the client was a freaking nightmare. There was something in you that genuinely thought that this was the right next step, but you unintentionally ended up making a bigger mess in the process. Ugh, friend, I hear you because I've done the same thing. And I also know that it makes you hesitant to trust yourself again because you don't want to mess up. You don't want to rock the boat. And you don't want to choose the wrong thing. Except the problem with that is then you end up choosing nothing, which keeps you in the same state and place without being able to move forward. Today, I'm going to teach you how to trust yourself again, even after you've quote unquote messed up. Now, in true LauraAura fashion, I've got to start this off with a story because you can bet your entire ass that if I am talking to you about messing up or making the wrong decision, that I have done plenty of that myself. There have been so many times where I really thought I was making the right decision and it backfired on me. It didn't go well. I lost relationships. Something in the business went wonky. And it's really disheartening and honestly very easy to feel shameful about yourself because you're like, I really thought I was doing the good thing or the right thing. Why is this going so terribly? Why am I all of a sudden having to learn a life lesson or having to go back and fix things or course correct? And there's two, honestly, major things that I've learned through these types of scenarios is one, you never truly mess up when you are open to receiving the lesson or the information that you were meant to get. Messing up, and I'm using air quotes even though you can't see me, doesn't mean it's the see-all be-all end-all. It is a path for information. I mean, how many times have you made a mistake or made a decision that did not go well, but you learned something from it? You gained valuable information that helped you the next time this popped up in your world. I'm going to dig into that further here in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you one of the times that I messed up. I thought I was doing the right thing, and it ended up completely backfiring on me and honestly ruining relationships. Back when I ran the agency, I had a team, an in-house team of designers and copywriters and admin staff, and it was a really nice eclectic mix of different types and talents. We were in an evolutionary phase, meaning we were kind of stagnant, but also growing at the same time. It was a weird dynamic, and it really had me questioning what the right next move was. Around that same time, a new person had come into my life, and we kind of started to become friends. This person had a skill that I thought could help us through this transition. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds of who this was or what the role was or what the problem we were facing is, because honestly, that doesn't matter. It's also just not the way that I like to roll, so I'm not going to get into the weeds of it. What I will tell you, though, is that in this season, I thought that I was making the right decision by hiring this person on. There was a problem that I thought that they could solve. The personality seemed to be the right fit, and we had become friends, so it seemed like a natural evolution. Now, you can probably guess where this story is going. First, side note, if you are in business or if you are in charge of hiring people at the business that you work for, do not, I repeat, do not hire your friends. There is such a small, tiny percentage of relationships that work out after you hire them. I have seen so many business partners split ways, and it's literally like a divorce. I've seen companies hire their friends and lose their relationships. And unfortunately, I'm in that same bucket. There are 0 people that I hired that were friends before that I'm still friends with now. But you know what? At the time, I did not yet have that clarity or that maturity or that just focus to know that that was not the right next thing to do. And so I brought this person on. They were on for a few months, thought it was working out. Turns out it was not working out. We ended up making a bigger mess. We lost money. In a few cases, we lost clients. It was not the right decision. We ended up parting ways. We are no longer friends. It didn't work out. And I'll tell you that I have unfortunately been in this situation more times than I care to count. Hiring people I was very good at, but also kind of sucked at the same time. And it made me really hesitant to want to hire anybody else because I was afraid I was going to make the wrong decision. I thought that this was right in the past and it totally screwed me over. And so then I would take too many things on and I would overload myself and burn myself out because I was just terrified of making the wrong decision. What I can now look back and say and realize is, you know what? I didn't mess up. I didn't make the wrong decision. This was the path that I had to go on to gain the information and the knowledge and the know-how so that I can make better decisions in the future. I know what the signs and symbols are now. I know what a yes feels like in my body. I know what a no feels like in my body. That is very loud and clear these days. I had to go through my own healing process to understand that a lot of my decision-making was based out of people-pleasing and fear of abandonment. And honestly, until we learn our own lessons, until we gather all of the information that we are intended to gather, we will continue to make those same decisions and sometimes those same mistakes until we do. One of the things that I learned out of this, besides the fact that I was hiring out of people-pleasing and abandonment issues, which I have gone to therapy, I've done my inner work, I have healed that wound, I am way stronger now because of it, I realized that I don't like being a boss. I don't want a big team. I don't want to be in charge of a bunch of people. It is so draining on me. It pulls at so many of my heartstrings, of my boundaries, of my inner peace, my quietness. Like, I know it's for so many businesses and it works incredibly well, obviously. But I learned that that's not the only way to grow a business. That you can actually get support through other small businesses like contractors and 1099s who love what they do, but you're not in charge of them. It showed me that I can run a business the way that I want to, not the way that society tells you that you have to. Having a big team stresses me the fuck out. Okay? I have restructured the way that I work with people, and I have a few handful of specialists that help me with things that I suck at. But I'm not in charge of payroll taxes, or approving freaking time off. So if we look back at this one of many experiences where I have quote unquote messed up, would you say that I actually messed up? Or would you say that I found clarity, that I gained information, that I learned something about myself, that I went through a process to grow and evolve? This is why I'm starting this episode with this story, because especially when you're in the thick of it, especially when you're on the other side dealing with the mess that you've unintentionally created, it's very easy to put the shame on yourself, the blame on yourself, point the finger back at you and say, I screwed up. I messed up people's lives. I made a bigger mess. And you know what? Sometimes you did. Because you're also a human being, okay? No one walks this earth in a perfect way. No one makes the right decision 100% of the time. But you know what makes you an exceptional human being? Is when you can see these situations, you can pause, you can reflect, and you can learn from them. Sometimes trusting yourself means going through the rough patches to receive what you need on your journey. Receiving information that you need to build courage for the next time, to find just crystal clear fucking clarity so that the next time this happens or when you go on to the next step, you know exactly what you want. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes we are so set on something and thinking and believing that we want it this one way, but this experience, this decision that you have made has shown you another path. Sometimes it's to form connection with people that you may have never ran into or worked with or had a conversation with had you not gone through this process. Maybe, just maybe, you had to go through this to gain the tools and the resources that you need to better equip you for the next part of your journey. Making a wrong decision doesn't mean that you have failed or completely messed up. It might actually be exactly what you asked for. It just looks a lot different than what you thought it was going to look like. Oh, that needs to be on a fucking billboard somewhere. Like, you want it to go a certain way. You have formulated in your mind how this should go. But the way that you're supposed to gain that information, the way that you're supposed to learn the lesson, sometimes is bumpy. And oftentimes it looks very different than what we thought and expected it to be. Think about all the things that you are doing in your life right now that are working, that you have the right information for, you have the right tools for, things are running smoothly, or at least they're running in the right direction. I'm going to bet that those things are running properly, that they are working out in your favor right now because you have experience through something else that didn't. Have you ever been traveling? Let's say you get on an airplane or on a train, you're going somewhere and you're like, you know what? I don't need to take any food with me. I will be good. I had a big breakfast. I'll be fine until we get to where we're going. And then about midway, you're like, shit, I'm a little bit hungry. And then by the time you actually exit the vehicle that you are transporting in, you are either so fucking hangry that you could rip somebody's face off, or you are weak and you are tired and you're feeling weird. That sugar drop is no fucking joke to mess around with. Guess what? You didn't make the right decision. But I'm going to bet now, when you travel, there are snacks in your bag. I bet that you are eating before you get onto the airplane. You are checking the train car to see if it has a food cart or not. This is just one very small but very relevant situation, and where you made the wrong decision, but you gathered information, you're better equipped, and you choose differently now. So go easy on yourself. Okay, where do you need to honor and forgive yourself for whatever decisions or actions you have made? Where can you say, you know what, that didn't go as planned, but I'm going to forgive what happened and I'm going to honor what I am learning from it. Almost every great thing that you do now is born out of a lesson that you learned before, okay? Now, let's flip the coin here a little bit. We're not shaming, we are not blaming, but we are taking personal accountability, because sometimes we do choose the wrong thing, but oftentimes because we ignored the signs that were in front of us. We devalued what we were thinking or feeling or experiencing. We dismissed the truth because we wanted to make someone else happy. I have made my fair share, very, very fair share of mistakes where I was like, I fucked up. I did not listen to myself. I ignored myself. I went outside of myself. And you know what? That almost always ends up in a learning lesson. So when we're thinking about how do I trust myself again after I have messed something up, after I have carried such shame or guilt or blame with myself, we've got to reflect on the moments when you made these decisions. We've got to get to know you better so that you know your own personal signs, so that you can slow down, to get grounded in your decisions, to be able to really have your own process so that you know, is this a yes or is this a no? So there's 3 things that I have found to be very helpful in helping to build your self-trust. And that's what I want to share with you here in the second part of this episode. If you're able, this is a great time to grab a pen and paper to jot these down so that you can journal on them later. So the first question that I want you to reflect on is, did I choose when I was grounded, or did I react out of emotion, need, or fear? Oh, this is such a big one. Such a big one. Did I choose when I was grounded? And what I mean by that was, do you feel good about yourself? Is there a stillness within you? Do you feel solid about what you're about to do? Do you have clarity? Are you feeling confident about this? Have you had a chance to sit with it, to really feel like, yes, I know what my answer needs to be? Or were you like a wacky inflatable wailing tube man and you're all over the place? You're feeling emotional, right? Big emotions, sadness, anger, anxiety, right? Like, are you feeling pulled in a bunch of different directions? Are you feeling like I have to do this? An example of that is like I've taken on clients in the past when I ran the agency out of need for finances, not because they were the right client, but because we needed the money. By the way, that also never ends well, just in case you didn't know that. So did I make a decision out of a need? And that's often paired with a fear. Am I choosing this? Am I making this decision because I'm afraid? Because I feel like I have to? Because I feel like I'm backed into a corner? Those things, big emotions, needs, and fears, are never grounded. And when you're not grounded, you are not sound in your decision. So the way that you equip yourself for the next time is, one, to reflect on a time when you made a decision when you were not grounded, and getting to know what you need in those moments instead. How do I get into a grounded space? Well, sometimes it's pausing. Sometimes it's asking for more time. Sometimes it's sitting with it, giving yourself a chance to cool down, to neutralize, to let everything, the dust kind of settle around you so that you can think, see, and feel clearly. I want you to get really gutsy and get very used to asking people for more time. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And if it's unclear, you need more time to sit with it. This is such a power move because you're actively choosing to no longer move out of reaction, but instead on how to respond. You're coming at this in a grounded space. You're going to feel better about your decisions. You're going to feel more clear about what you should or should not do. And you are going to feel so much better about the decision that you do make. Now, the second one is all about your body, okay? Your body is a compass. It is forever guiding you. Your only job is to listen. I've told you that before. I'm going to keep telling that to you because when you get to know your body, you're going to get to know your answers with more clarity, with more ease. It just makes things so much easier. So in your reflective moment, did my body give me signals that I ignored? Okay. Did your body give you signals that you ignored? Tightness in your chest, anxiety, spinning thoughts. Maybe you got chills. Maybe you shut the fuck down and you froze. All of these and so many others are ways of your body saying, no, thank you, ma'am. Or I need more time, or I'm not sure yet. Now, everybody experiences their own intuition differently. You might get a weird cramp in your left pinky. Your hair might stand up on the back of your neck. You might get a twitch in your left ass cheek. I don't know, right? Like everybody is unique. The power move here is getting to know your body. Get to know your body's way of telling you no. So thinking back to a time where you made a decision that led you down a wonky road, what was your body doing at that time? What were you feeling? What were the sensations? Where was the contraction in your body? What was that experience specifically for you? Now, the biggest thing besides understanding what that feeling is and where you feel it is to trust it. Trust that contraction. Trust the weird left butt cheek issue. Trust when your brain starts going 100 miles an hour in 30 different directions. And you know what? You're usually trusting this when it doesn't make sense. If I'm very real with myself about that very first situation that I told you about with hiring the person, I can look back into one of our very first interactions when I had a gut feeling that this was not right. But I ignored it. I downplayed it. I'm like, this is all in your head. You're making this shit up. This is the right next move. It was so soft and so subtle that I completely dismissed it. And you know how the rest of the story goes. I learned my damn lesson. In the same way that I want you to get to understand what your body's no's feel like, I also want you to understand what your body's yeses feel like. Especially when you're on the verge of making a big decision or changing something or taking a risk or doing something you haven't done before, It's often disguised as anxiety. I often talk about the bricks or the butterflies, the bricks being your body's way of saying no because it's low and it's heavy and it's sinking, versus the butterflies are your body's way of saying yes. It's higher, it's fluttery, it feels like you're on a roller coaster, like you want to puke, but you're also really excited to do it. Those are two very different feelings. And if you understand, or at least start to get to know what your body's way of saying yes is, like my yeses are either very calm and quiet, or I feel like I am standing on top of the Empire State Building waving my arms around. Either way, whether it's a yes or a no, trust it. It is guiding you to whatever you need next, regardless if it's a bumpy road where you're going to learn a lesson or if it's presenting your next right opportunity. Now, before we dig into the third one, I want to remind you that individualized support is about 3 minutes away from where you're standing right now. I have built very simple and very intentional programs to help women through growth, through transition, through uncertainty, to build the trust and ultimately to make the gutsy moves that change your life. The Gutsy Collective are for women that are just learning how to reprioritize themselves. They're just learning how to trust themselves again. They are making a pivot in their life, but doing it on their own terms and in their own time. Auraline is my mastermind for high achieving women that are in growth mode. You are transitioning, you are making big moves, and you are needing support to help you get there. And one-on-one coaching is when you want to get laser focused, you don't want to share your time with anybody, and you want to go deep on your life or in your business to make those changes. If one of those resonates highest with you, you can sign up for any of those at LauraAura.com. But if you're like, I'm not quite sure what fits me best, because maybe I'm not even really sure what I want or need to do, then let's just book a clarity session. This is a free 30-minute session for you and I to discover first what's going on. Let's get you some immense clarity so you know where to focus your time and your energy. And we'll figure out what your one right next step is in working with me. You can also book that at LauraAura.com, or I have put the link to it below in the show notes. Now, last but certainly not least, okay, maybe I should have put this one first, is did I choose based off of somebody else? You heard me talk about people pleasing. That comes into play here. Did you base a decision based off of what you think that you should do? How it's going to affect somebody else? What someone else's opinion of you is going to be? Is there some societal expectation that you feel like you have to follow? Or something else that someone else wants you to do, but you don't really want to do, but you don't want to let them down? Oh my gosh, does this get messy? Especially when it's people that you love, or it's close friends, or it's close colleagues, your parents. It adds a whole other layer of anxiety and overthinking on top of what is already sometimes a very confusing and conflicting situation in the first place. It's first really important to reflect and see, is this one of my decision-making go-tos? Am I thinking about everyone else first? Am I wanting to please other people? Am I afraid of what they're going to say or think about me? Is all of this part of my decision-making process? Now, I'm not saying to discount it. Sometimes when you're making decisions, especially if you're making big shifts in your life, you do have to consider other people, especially if you have kids or a spouse or business partners or other people that you're working with. I'm not saying completely dismiss other people. That's a very different energy than what I'm talking about. What I'm referencing is when you feel so heavy and burdened by what other people are going to say or think, or if you're going to let somebody down, that you allow that to dictate your answer. And because you're a person and you're listening to this show, I'm going to go ahead and guess that this is a big part of your decision-making factor. Now, the real power move here, and this one, you got to sink in a little bit deeper, okay? The real power move here is pausing long enough to ask yourself, what do I actually want? What would benefit me in this situation? What do I feel drawn towards? When you really start honing in on yourself and silencing the voice of everybody else around you, you can start to get clarity around what your right next move is. And is everybody in your world going to love it? Probably not. Are people going to have opinions and maybe say something about it to your face, behind your back, online? Maybe. But you know what? You got to learn to let those people down instead of yourself. They're not living your daily life. They don't know what your goals and your aspirations are. They don't know what you're moving away from and towards. They probably don't even understand why this is so important to you. And if they do know all those things and they're talking trash, then they're shit people and you need to get them out of your life. These 3 things that I've just shared with you are really, really great ways to start rebuilding your self-trust. Are they 100% guaranteed to keep you from making decisions that send you down wonky roads? Absolutely not. Because remember, sometimes we have to go down that path to gain the tools, the information, the connections, the details that we need to better equip you for this journey. But what they will do is to help you feel more grounded and solid in your decisions, to really truly understand and know your body and its signs and its cues and its information that it's sharing with you, and to really learn to honor yourself. Again, you're going to just feel so much better in the decisions that you're making when you have incorporated these things into your world. All of these things help you to trust yourself more, to build your confidence. And honestly, to say, you know what, I did everything that I could, and I'm going to be okay with this. I'm okay that I'm in a learning season because I know what this has given me in the past. My friend, you are not screwing stuff up. There is nothing wrong with you. You are simply in a phase where you are learning and growing. And dare I say, the steeper the hill, the more amazing the view is when you get to the top of it. So brush yourself off, forgive yourself, release the shame, and get back to it. If there was something that really truly spoke to you about today's episode, I would big puffy heart love and appreciate if you could leave a review on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It's a 2-minute activity that helps other amazing women like you discover the show to know that, hey, you know what? This is the right place for me too. I'd also really love if you came over and said hello. You can find me on all the social platforms using @thatLauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.